Good morning and welcome to this morning's 5 minute motivational moment. It is I, Coach Jay, and I'd like to thank you for um, being here with me. I much appreciate you. Yesterday we talked about, yesterday we talked about accountability and being accountable for the things and the responsibilities that you have, basically being accountable, being responsible for your life, being responsible for the things that you do and that you say. And today we're going to talk about being organized. We're going to talk about being organized. And if you see me darting off, that's because I'm looking at two different cameras, and I'm also looking at my notes that I have in front of me. So today we're going to talk about, like I said, being organized. um, I have found that a lot of times, well, before I do that, let me tell you what being organized is. The definition of organization or organized. It is arranged in a systematic way, especially on a large scale, or having one's affairs in order so as to deal with them efficiently. I really like that second definition because the word efficiently is in it. That's one of my favorite words. I like to do things effectively and efficiently. I like to make certain that the time that I spend is spent in the best way, because time is a commodity that you don't get back. It is not regenerated like money is. It is not regenerated like plants can be regenerated. It is something that you cannot get back once you spend it. So I like to spend my time effectively and efficiently. So that is why being organized is so important to me. Something that I figured out years ago is that when my space, whether it's my office, my desk, my kitchen, my car, whatever it is, when it is out of order, when it is cluttered, when it is basically a mess, I am unable to concentrate on the things that I need to focus on. And that poses a problem for me, because then that means that I have to spend the time trying to figure out where certain things are in order to do the job that I need to do. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about getting organized. When you are organized, in order, everything has its place and is in its place, you are able to better concentrate on the things that you really need to focus on. There's some science behind that, but I did not look that up. I know that it exists. I've seen it before. I've looked it up before. There is some science behind when you have a clean and clutter-free space, you are better able to think. So your attention is not on where a thing is, whether it's a pen, paper, book, but more on what you need to do with that thing, whether it is to write something down, whether it is to, take a note. You've got a thought that comes and you don't want to forget it, so you write it down, whether it is to complete a task, whatever that thing is. You've got a paper that needs to be turned in. Your boss is at your desk asking you for a specific piece of paper that he gave you or she gave you, and it's somewhere in the clutter that's on your desk instead of being in a designated space. So when you clean up your clutter, when you get your desk in order, when you have your files in order, you are better able to effectively and efficiently do the task assigned to you. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. So when you are able to get organized, you also feel a sense of peace overcome you. And that brings about a sense of calmness. And you are better able to organize your thoughts. Those thoughts that were once all over the place in your head now seem to have gotten in an orderly single file line, like we used to do when we were in school. An orderly single file line, and they're being heard one at a time. Paul speaks to confusion when he talks about too many people trying to speak a word at the same time. But when each person takes their appointed time, their appointed turn, the people hearing that word are better able to comprehend it. The same is true of our thoughts. If you organize your space, when the thoughts present themselves in that single file line, you are better able to comprehend what it is that you should be doing with that thought. When you are organized or organizing a project, and a good way to do so is to map it out. So when you are organizing a project, whatever that project may be, whether it's a small one or a big one, whether it's for yourself personally or for your employer, when you are mapping that thing out, you are better able to produce it at the end. So you can do that by writing down the project and writing down the desired end result. Then you list out each step that needs to happen to pull the project off. Whether it's 3 steps, 4 steps, 2 steps, you write down each step that is required to pull that project off. And when you write down each of those steps, then you write down what it will take to accomplish each of those steps. You write down what it will take to accomplish each of those steps, who will perform that duty, and a timeline. And once that's all in order, you move accordingly. Before you know it, your project is planned out and you are ready to make it happen. So the scriptures that I have that go along with this are both in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, and they're verses 33 and 40. Verses 33 and 40. Now, when you read the whole thing in context, it doesn't seem to connect with this, but they connect if you just read them on their own. 1 Corinthians 14, verses 33 and 40. And with that, I need to get out of here. I gotta have my breakfast before I head off to work. So, peace and blessings. Remember to walk in your purpose and know that I appreciate you.